Forget fights and grudges and concentrate. Come, let us sit and try to relate. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come, let us work hand in hand, because this is our land. Come, my brother, come, my sister, and let us build a nation together. Oh, yeah,
Let us come together and build Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique together. We are calling for nation builders. Step forward. Let us transform our communities. Let us transform our homes. Let us transform Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. It is easy to complain. It is easy to whine and groan and moan. That's an easy thing when it comes to governance. But to build, to do something that would positively impact the lives of your fellow men is very, very difficult for so many people, when it should be easier. That should be the easy thing, to do something good, to help somebody, to reach out and help somebody in your community, in your parish, in your constituency, throughout the country. I want to encourage those on Facebook and YouTube to please share the live. Sharing is caring. I want to start off by saying there are some people on some radio stations who support the NNP, who support the opposition. The owner of that radio station, he's a NNP. In fact, he ran and won in which constituency? One of those constituencies, twice. All right? So the station is NNP. We know a particular radio station. So to come out and justify the whole $10,000 spending and how they spend the $10,000 and how it's allocated, it's a big laugh. The $10,000 constituency allowance ought to be spent in the constituency on the constituents for a number of things: medical, educational, health, things that the constituents would come to you for from time to time. But what we are saying is that the opposition MPs, we are not seeing that they're doing anything with it in their constituency. It is not obvious that they're doing anything. But what we can tell you, some of them are very tricky. There are reports that some of them, because they can do hampers with that money and distribute, some of them, not all, but some, are not distributing any hamper. But they are submitting an invoice to Parliament for that amount of foodstuff. So, out of the $10,000, some of them every month would submit an invoice for $6,000, $7,000 worth of foodstuff to distribute hampers to their constituents. But there is no evidence that they are doing so, because they forged a good relationship with a supermarket or two in their constituency because the constituency would issue that check to that supermarket. Even if they are not collecting the items from the supermarket would give a nice breakdown as to what are the items and how much it cost. They will get the check, they will change the check, and that MP would collect the cash. Some, not all of them doing that, but some would collect the cash and use it for political means. And this thing is simple. It's called washing. They're washing the money. So they cannot submit for this person hamper or hampers, right? And the name and the number and all kind of stuff, because somebody could verify whether the people get it or not. So they're using the shop or that supermarket. They're using that as a way of washing the money. They have a good relationship with that supermarket owner or that shop. And even if people are not getting the items, no hamper is being distributed every month like this, right? But a check is paid to that shopkeeper. He cashes the check. He gives an invoice, although no goods, no supply is coming from his shop or supermarket. And the MP gets the money. So some of them doing that. And then they use it for their political things. And that is the concern that we have. What we are saying is, if these MPs are given $10,000 every month, and don't make them fool you, the person who has access to the money is the member of parliament in the constituency. So it could be checking account, it could be cash, it could be whatever. The person who has access to the money is the member of parliament. And that person and another person in the office is authorized to sign the checks. So they can issue it for so many things. They can change money and give this one, give that one. That's how they operate. What we are saying is that there is a need for accountability on the part of those opposition MPs in particular. Because I am not accusing all of them of not doing what they're supposed to do. I'm not doing that. But at least some must be held accountable. And we are, because it's taxpayers' money, we are calling on the parliament to make sure that every month, not half of the year, not annually, some of them saying quarterly, ask them how many opposition MPs or MPs submitted any quarterly report of what they did with the $10,000. Ask them. 0.1%. 0.1% of them. So I am saying we need more accountability. And the constituents must know what they can go to the MP's office for. Because they don't know. All they know is that these people get $10,000 constituency allowance. That's all they know. So they go to them to ask for a ramp, right? Or they go to them to ask for a wheelchair, or they go to them for some kind of assistance, and then they turn them down. They turn them down. Because you see, I have a problem when the government would give these people in opposition $10,000 as constituency allowance. You don't give these people that kind of money. Because what you're doing, you're emboldening them. You're making them stronger when you give them that kind of money. because they will find ways and means to trick the system. Not all of them, but some. They would find ways and means to trick the system, to do their other political work with the resources. That is what it's possible. May I say it's possible? And we have to challenge that, because there is a need for transparency and accountability when it comes to that $10,000 constituency allowance. And if it was up to me, I would take it away from them. I would not give the opposition MPs any 10,000 constituency allowance or the vehicles. I would not do that. So the government must explain, the parliament must explain what that $10,000 is to be used for. And it must be publicized. The constituents, the people must know that the $10,000 given to those MPs, this is what it can be used for. That's important. Very important, because $10,000 is a lot of money. Anyhow you look at it, it's a lot of money. And if you add that over a period of time, that's $120,000 you're given to the opposition MPs as constituency allowance every year. And if you have a election cycle of 5 years, then you're looking at what? $600,000 or more, because you're talking about $120,000 a year. 5 years, so that's $600,000. $600,000, $120,000 a year. So you're putting in the hands of the opposition MPs $600,000 in a 5-year cycle, when the election could be within 5 years or 3 months or 90 days after 5 years. So that is what you're actually doing. $600,000. Those constituencies are small, and if you are tactical and strategic, you can pump that money into the hands of, let's say, the 3,000 people you need to win the election, or the 2,500 people you need to win the election by in your constituency. So you're emboldening them. So while you want to be fair, while you want to be nice, while you want to be, seen as equitable across the board, come on. You cannot be pumping that kind of money in the hands of those opposition MPs. Somebody needs to, stand in the center and say, hey, this is political suicide. You don't do that to support your opposition forces. You're talking about we're on the third year. They already received, well, at least it started when that started. It's about 15, 16, 17 months ago, right? So do the maths. They're on about $160,000 or $70,000 already that they received. And mind you, our beloved Prime Minister has not received 1 cent. Not 1 cent as yet. Because what they're saying is that he needs to open an account for that money to go into it, so that he can start spending it and doing X and doing Y with it. But he's saying, just as those individuals are able to get the money and they're supposed to account for it, don't matter how you give the MP, they should account for it. This thing is simple. Because if you see these people as dishonest, then why do you give them in the first case? And even if you set up an account and they want to trick the system, they will still be able to do so. It is what it is. I just gave you an example of how they could trick the system and how some of them have been tricking the system. It's Simple as that. All they need to do is to identify a supermarket in that constituency, somebody who supports them, pumps 6,000, 7,000 out of that money every month into that supermarket for hampers, for materials. Although materials are not coming forward in terms of food items and so on, but you issue the supermarket a check, they change your check, you get it, and you do all your political work with it. If you go on the books, the evidence on the books would show that the money was spent for food items for hampers. That is what it would show. But in reality, no hamper was distributed, no food was distributed. That's how they. So I am saying I have a fundamental problem with such a position. You don't arm your opposition forces. You don't give them any opportunity to be comfortable. And then we hear about a vehicle to be assigned to all of them. Right? Think about it. Yes, you want to build institutions. Yes, you want to do X. Yes, you want to do Y. But you don't pump these kind of money into the opposition. Because if NDC was in opposition, that would never happen. They would pressure the opposition. Look how long the NNP been in power. They never increase the salaries of senators or MPs in the parliament. They never did that. Never. For all these years, senators were getting about what? $1,000 something every month. And MPs were getting $3,000 something every month. NNP never increased it for all these years. But the NDC came and they increased it for senators and for MPs. And boy, they get more emboldened, they get more brave, more brazen. This Kate Lewis, she used to be a little political dummy in the parliament, not speaking aloud and not being boisterous or putting on so much of lipstick and being on Facebook and playing the whatever. Don't even talk about Peter David and all the others. Now they're comfortable because that's an extra how much? And then they could walk wherever they want to walk. So who teaching, who doing consultancy, who doing lawyer this and lawyer that. Yeah. And that money comes every month to them. And sometimes once per month, they go into the parliament. Sometimes not at all, but they get that money. Come on. You don't do that. You don't give your opposition forces that kind of money because you're arming them. You're making them, in other words, you're making them have resources and they could work elsewhere and take that kind of resources and pump it into their constituency and remain in power, meaning in the constituency, remain MP of the constituency, because Grenadians still vote with their belly and not their head. A lot of Grenadians still vote with their belly and not with their head. Let's face it. Many of them, it's about giving them something. It's what it is. And that is what they would remember. So you do something in the community that will positively impact the entire community. They don't consider that in terms of the day of election, the time to vote. Few will do that. Few will consider that. But let's look at the NNP supporters in particular. They think with their belly and not with their head. They don't care about that school that was built in that area. They don't care about that community center that was refurbished, or that playing field that was upgraded and lit, or that basketball court or netball court that was renovated or upgraded. They don't care about a piece of concrete road or concrete drain or solar lights all around the country. They don't. Nope. They don't care about that. They don't care about the pension being paid to public officers or increase given to police officers' pay and grade. They don't care about that police station that was upgraded or refurbished or built. They don't care about that medical station refurbished or built. No. They don't care about that neighbor who gets a house who didn't have a house. No. They think with their belly. They get a food hamper, or they get some cash, or they get something like that every month. That's what it is. Politics in Grenada is still that. So I am saying there is a need to rethink this whole $10,000 for all the MPs. It should only be given to government MPs and not the opposition. Yes, you want to be fair. Yes, you want to be nice. Yes, you want to be seen as building institutions. But you cannot arm your enemy. You can't, because they would use that against you. So there is a need for rethinking with this particular move, the $10,000 constituency allowance given to the opposition MPs. The government MPs, they could get that. You're in government. You have a right to get that. But not the opposition MPs. They need to find sources and ways and means to get that kind of money. And giving them a transport. They don't need to get it. They need to find ways and means to go around and do their work. Because they're not doing any work in any case. So they're going to be using that transport for political purposes to advance their own cause or causes. Politics in small island states is brutal. It's not fair. And it will never be fair. Because if you try to be too fair, then you will be arming the opposition. You will be giving them stuff to come back and fight you. That is why you see them, they could talk so, If they didn't get in that kind of money, and let me tell you this, money could make people comfortable. Money could make people happy. And if you don't have money, and you can't do this and you can't do that, and people coming to you and you can't this and you can't, you depressed, you stressed out, you have real problems. That is what supposed to happen to the opposition. The opposition MP is supposed to be in that situation. They should not be happy and comfortable. Anytime you have opposition MPs too comfortable, you have problem. Serious problem. So you can't treat these people nice. You can't play nice with them. You have to treat them hard and rough and harsh. That's what you have to do. It is what it is. That's politics. It's not a fair sport. And getting into it, you must know that it's not a fair sport. So we need to face it. These opposition MPs should not be given this $10,000 constituency allowance. I don't care what people say. In politics, it's different. If you want to go to church, you go to church and you do what you have to do in the church. But when it comes to politics, it's a different ball game. So this 10,000 constituency allowance, and you have to do the maths. If you calculate that over a period of time, so let's say the election is called a year from now. You're talking about 300 and something thousand dollars going into the hands of those opposition MPs. If it's called a year and some from now, almost 400 and something thousand dollars going into their hands. And it's called constituency allowance. I am saying we need to dismantle this thing. This is not a good move, in my belief, when it comes to the politics. We need to see these opposition MPs, right? We need to see them struggling like anybody else. Find means and ways, go and raise funds, sell bix and saltfish and other things to do things, because at the end of it all, it will be for their political gain. That is what they want. They want to get into power, they want to win their seats, or they want to maintain that victory. And if you have money, come on, the salary increase and they're working elsewhere. You have one of them, she teaching, right? The lipstick queen, teaching, getting a hefty sum, and then she getting $5,000. So when you calculate the money, it's a huge amount of money she gets every month. She could live comfortable. She could, because she always in big restaurants and big hotels and so on. She's always there, right? So she could live a good life. All her bills could be paid and, her mortgage, and she's living the life. She doesn't do anything much in her constituency. No, she could care less about that. When the election time comes around, she plays the game again, and that's what they do. That's how they function. Because under NNP, the opposition, no opposition, don't care which one. In fact, Tobias Clement was on record fighting over and over when he was opposition leader for there to be an increase in the money given to members of parliament. And under Keith Claudius Mitchell, not one damn cent was added to the salaries of those MPs or senators. Not one damn cent was added. They kept them right there, right at that place. So I am saying it's all good to try to be nicer, but you can't be nice with your enemy politically. They are your enemies. They want what you have. They want your position. They want to get back into power. And they will do anything to get back into power. They're desperate for it. In fact, their strategy is very clear now. They focus on St. Andrew, the 4 constituencies in St. Andrew. That is where they bombarding, that is where they focusing their attention. All right? And St. Patrick East and West and Carriacou. That is what they focus on that. That's the belt. All right? Because somehow they kind of give up on St. David. Somehow they give up on St. George. St. George means, except Keith Mitchell's area. So they give up on that 4 constituencies because you have 5 in St. George. So they give up on Keith Mitchell area there. They believe they could get that, right? Because these people, you could build all kind of house. You could help them with all kind of stuff. I could tell you, it's not easy to change these people, to get them to support NDC. That's a pie in the sky imagination, a pie in the sky belief that you have. You're not going to change these people in that constituency, no matter who you put. You're going to take maybe the next 15 to 20 years to see that change in that constituency. I am in politics long enough to know that. That's not going to change. You could give them a house because you could change, you could give them all kind of bathroom and toilet. They're going to mess in the toilet and they're still going to vote for NNP. Yeah, in that constituency, you're joking. You're trying. But, so they counting on that constituency and St. Mark. No matter what you do in St. Mark. I mean, Queens, boy, you're trying. I tell you, you're trying. But that constituency, politically, anybody who understands the politics would know you can't change that history in overnight. Nah. So that's their strategy. And that is their focus. St. Patrick East, St. Patrick West, Carriacou, they have all kind of bad things to say about Carriacou. Even if all kind of good things, plenty good things happening in Carriacou. That's their focus. St. Patrick East, St. Patrick West, Carriacou, the 4 seats in St. Andrew, and St. Mark and St. George Northwest. That is their roadmap. So the resources that you have, You can't put too much of it in St. Mark or in St. George Northwest. No, you have to balance it. Yes, you have to help them here and everywhere, but you have to balance it in the constituencies that you see victory. And there needs to be more focus on St. Andrew and St. Patrick. There needs to be more focus on that. Resources, PR, focus must be given. More attention must be given to St. Andrew, St. Patrick, because you have 6 constituencies in those areas. St. Andrew and St. Patrick. You have to embolden, empower, and help the people who are MPs there, elected or caretaker candidates. You have to do that. You have to see more of them doing, because they're doing stuff, but we need to see more of them doing stuff in those constituencies. For example, the Honorable Joseph Andal is doing a fantastic job as the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and he's always out there fighting and trying to get stuff for Grenada. But he needs the extra support in terms of projects and things happening in those constituencies. Same thing with the Minister of Finance, my good partner Dennis Cornwall. Same thing. And then you're going to St. Andrew itself. Because while all the attention seems to be given in this part, it has to refocus. It has to change. And somebody has to call it out and say it as is. It has to change. Simple like that. Something has to happen. There must be a shift. There needs to be more focus on St. John. There needs to be more focus on St. Patrick East and St. Patrick West. There needs to be more focus on the 4 constituencies in St. Andrew. There needs to be more focus in those areas. Because while the Honorable Kireen James, she's doing a fantastic job, a great job as Minister of Climate Resilience and blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to the constituency and the political work and so on, she needs support. She needs a lot of support. So we need to see that. So while things are happening in and between in those constituencies, we need to see them featured more. We need to see more things happening in those constituencies. Look, I am politically astute. I have been here long enough to understand politics to a T. I understand this thing. I know how to win. I have demonstrated that and proven that. I have demonstrated that and proven that. This victory did not come over an 8-month period or a 9-month period. No. This victory came over a prolonged fight and struggle and putting things in place. So it's critical. It's very, very critical to identify certain things. There is a need for more focus on St. John, St. Patrick West, St. Patrick East, and the 4 constituencies in St. Andrew. While those MPs and caretaker candidates are trying their best, there is a need for more injection of a lot of stuff. Resources, we need to see, more projects, more opportunities, more things happening in those constituencies and highlighted and featured with proper PR. It has to happen and happen quickly, because you have to understand NNP's strategy. You can't only see your strategy and that's it. NNP's strategy is simple. They draw a line. The 4 constituencies in St. Andrew as their focus. They're doing all kind of stuff to discredit, to undermine, to destabilize. Just look at St. Andrew. We saw a typical example in the Honorable Lennox Andrew constituency, right? In, what do you call it? Loba? Or whatever they call that area, right? One farmer who is well-known, a well-known NNP, decide to call the media with some other people and and create this disseminate this misinformation to discredit the minister and the MP for the area. And then you see those NNP political zombies head there with the MP and with this person and with that person they're trying to. Then the minister came out and tried to clear the air, but that was not featured all over the place. Right? So you have to understand what they're doing. See, they targeting St. Andrew. That's what they're doing. But they know, because they know, for example, the constituency where the Honorable Delma Thomas and the Honorable Gloria Thomas ran, two of them ran against each other. Right? So now that two of them is together, same party, in the same government, then that constituency is a winnable constituency, even as we stand, even as we look now. So they know that, right? But they're still trying to undermine and try to spread misinformation in that constituency. That's how they operate. And then there's a particular MP who wants her husband to get early retirement, right, from government, early retirement, to run in a particular constituency. I hope the government doesn't bow to that pressure. Let the guy work until he reaches 60. Let him work, transform him from that position and put him in the Bacolod Center. Or transform him and put him in the garage. Let him be in charge of the garage. So you're hearing, that kind of thing where he wants to run in a constituency in St. Andrew. So that is their focus, and that is why they're on this radio station up north. They don't care if it doesn't reach St. George or the Western Corridor. They don't care about that. Their program is carried on this rural radio station. All right? And they bombard that airways with all kind of misinformation about government, attacking all the MPs in St. Andrew. That is what they do. That's their strategy. If they can sweep or get 3 seats in St. Andrew, right? If they can get 1 in St. Patrick, or if they get the 2 bonus, that's what they want. That's 3 plus 2. They targeting Carriacou day and night. Day and night they targeting Carriacou. No matter all the good things happening in Carriacou, is target. Thank God, Tevin Andrews, he's trying his utmost. He's working hard. But he's up against these forces. No matter what he do or what he does in that constituency, they would still turn it around and say it's bad. That's how they function. So you have to understand, right? You have to understand what's going down. So they're targeting. So you're looking at 3 plus 3, Keith Mitchell constituency, Clarice Modeste. And then you see them, they jump in, 8 seats. That is what their strategy is. So we must refocus our energy. Yes, we have some constituencies that are strong. We're doing well there. Let's move our focus to St. Andrew, the big parish. Things are happening there, but we need to highlight it. We need to do more. Let's see it on social media more than some other areas. St. Patrick, same thing. We need to see a similar thing in St. Patrick East and West. Sometimes I look on social media and I see some blurry photos of good projects, blurry photos, some videos, you wonder what's going down. There is a need for people who understand the politics and who can do the work politically and push this thing. Because you see, election is about all the constituencies. All. Let me give you a typical example. And all the votes. I remember some years ago, I saw 2 vagrants. They came to vote. But before the election, they were on the streets. And even after the election, they went back on the streets, living like vagrants. Yeah, leaving like vagrants. But election day, the NNP did what they did, and they caused them to come in the line, and all they saying they're going to vote for NNP. Vagrants, because they were registered and they know that every vote counts. A vagrant, 2 vagrants. They scrape them up and they bring them there. So you have to understand every constituency is important, because all you need is 8 constituencies to win. And as I say, or as I said before, you can't be Superman. You can't be Superwoman. You don't need all the votes in that constituency as registered to win. You don't need all 4,000 votes. You don't need all 5,000 votes. You don't need that. You may want that, but you don't need it to win. All you need out of that 4,000 votes is 2,001. If you can get 2,001 to go in the different polling stations in that constituency and vote for you, you win in the election. That's all. So you cannot please everybody, and you cannot want everybody to vote for you. You cannot be nice with everybody. You go try. But there will be people who will dislike you anyways, who are going to vote against you anyways. But if you can identify your people, support your people, give your people what they should get, right? Some of them don't even need anything. In fact, I saw recently my good partner, the Honorable Andy Williams. He went around visiting and he met a Rasta, right? Met a Rasta gentleman, and man, the guy was like, take this, take that. And I spoke about that on umpteen occasions. Sometimes you go to these, you go on these visits and you come out with your whole bag full because the people just want to see you. They would have a conversation with you, but that is all what they want. Look at somewhere, I had it somewhere, I just download them thing, right? I just keep it in the archive. That's me. So the Honorable Andy Williams, he went and he visited some farmer in the constituency, right? Somebody in the look at it.
I don't know Andy are the election. So what is that calling? I don't feel food land, right. Sometimes food here, sometimes supermarkets and some restaurant like Coconut Beach, But how they call him closed up though. Which one? We used to be by Flamboyant and they closed down. So I don't want to do. But I just get market on the other side and then Shublu go by. We have a car and they just say,
right. So that's the farmer. All he wanted was to see Andy chit chat with him. Look, Andy have a blue bag. He getting vegetables like. But I said so on umpteen occasions. Sometimes all these people want to do is just see you and have a conversation with you. Just that. Just that. So, look, there is a need to refocus and to see what the NNP is trying to identify their strategy, because you must know your enemy's strategy. Yeah? You must know. So I spoke, and some people may not like it, but who cares? At the end of the day, we have to remain in power for a very long time. And I have an inside scoop on what's going down. That is why I spoke about the $10,000 constituency allowance. Because the opposition MPs, at least the majority of them, not all of them, they are using it to do political work, to advance their political agenda in their constituency, not to help the people genuinely, because they pick in and choose, they identify their people. All right? It's what it is. So I talk about that. I also spoke about identifying, in fact, I did that during the week, identifying our supporters and making sure we attend to their needs and wants. We can't help everybody at once. But I spoke about that. The need to identify the supporters in every constituency. Not just some, every constituency. tabulate the numbers, genuinely so. Get to know where they stand politically. And tabulate the numbers, calculate it. See how many people are registered, how many people are supporting you, and whether you're over the line. And do not take just what some of our foot soldiers and canvassers are saying. Verify and re-verify, if there is such a word, and verify again and again. Because I remembered in 2013, that election, you speak to some of the people who are running as candidates, and they say, man, we have it in the bag. Because look at what the canvass results showing. Some of those foot soldiers stayed in their house, cock up their leg on the veranda, took the electoral list and just tick up, that is an MP, that one is an MP, that one is NDC, that one is an MP, that one is an NDC, that one is an NDC, and they tabulate it and they send it in. And then they made some of these candidates believe, boy, that they win. Win what? Win what? When election came around, it was a different ball game. So you have to go down in the field. You have to engage people. You have to get to know where they stand. You got to know. You have to be down there on the ground. That's real politics on the ground. And you don't just go and visit for visiting sake. You go and visit to get to know where people stand politically. So don't waste your visit in the field. You may go there to visit 10 houses, and they might be housing this and housing that. You go there to assess, to know who are the people, where they stand politically, and so on and so forth. It is a numbers game. So I talked about that. And then I'm speaking now about focusing more on St. Andrew, St. Patrick, St. John. We have to be mature enough to say we need to refocus our energies and efforts in those constituencies. Simple, and we have time. We have time. We need to target those constituencies to get the job done. And all, including my good friend, Tessa Sincere, you need to have a Facebook or Instagram page on your name, Tessa Sincere, not tailor-made. Because people on election day would vote for Tessa Sincere because Tessa Sincere did X, Y, and Z for them in that area, not tailor-made. Some people don't even know who is behind tailor-made. I know that it's you, but you need, just as you have the Honorable Ron Redhead, the Honorable Deacon Mitchell, the Honorable Andy Williams, even Andy Williams too, my good partner, A.J. Williams, he too has to have the Honorable Andy Williams out there on Facebook, on Instagram, because you see, politics is personal. So people might be home and they're seeing these things happening, but they want to know who is doing it. Don't have people guessing or wondering who. So it has to be very distinct, very easy to identify. That's PR. So your name have to be there. Outstanding. That is why when Caritas gives something to any institution or individuals, then you have it clear cut, right? Food for the poor, Caritas. You have your logo, and that is why even people who sponsor stuff. You have their logo and everything all over it. You see? So once you realize, yeah, there are some of them with 2 pages and so on. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But if you look at the pages that are more active, I'm on social media. I live on social media. That's where I live. I know what's going down. The pages that are most active, that the individuals will post stuff on and so on, would not be the one that you're talking about. That's important. Very, very important. And that's politics. When you hear me say Kem Jones, I register that in your mind. You know it's Kem Jones. The littlest child could call Kem Jones. If I do something, my name is marked all over it. Kem Jones. I'm telling you, it's what it is. That's the reality. So the focus has to be more on St. Andrew now and St. Patrick and St. John. It has to happen. And quickly. Because even if a person is not running again in a constituency, that person should at least do such a good work, a fantastic work, making it easy for the person who will come. It is what it is. There will be changes. Those things happen every election cycle. But the person who is there now should do such a good work, even if they bow out, they could actually consciously say, well, I did an excellent job here. I laid the foundation for you. Take it from here. And you could even have that person campaigning with you. Because you know, if that person do a mess up work, they can't even face the electorate. They cannot even come on the stage. It's what it is. You have to lay a solid foundation. And ministries don't win any election unless you can use the ministry to your advantage. And I can give you a typical example of one who is using his ministry to his advantage, which is great. Fantastic. Bravo. Thumbs up. I love that. But ministries don't win an election. You're the best minister. Franca Bonadine was one of the best minister of education. She did not win a seat. She ran and she got real blows, real cut skin, cut tail. Nice Franca, my good party, sir. Real licks. Blows she got. So it could be the best minister of education, the best minister of this, and the best minister of that, and you're getting blows on the ground. The election is fought on the ground. And remember, them NNP supporters still vote with their belly. So that $10,000 constituency allowance that is going towards, for some of those constituencies, going towards feeding some of them and keeping them, you know, it's what it is. They don't vote with their brain and their head. Look, this is food for thought. This is a political university, you know. And yes, some of them, they say they have master's degree and doctorates and this, and they play in Brighton. Bright what? Politically, they're not there. You check out the people who are billionaires and millionaires. Nearly all of them drop out of college. They drop out of college and they focus on that and get rich. So sometimes it's not about you having doctorates, you having PhD and PhD and MPH and MPP and masters this and masters that. Politically, you could be kindergarten. Politically, you could be primary school level. Politically, you could be secondary school level. You have to understand this. Focus must be given. Priority must be given to those constituencies in St. Andrew and St. Patrick and St. John. That's key. I want to big up. Yeah, don't worry, Andrea. I know when I say MPP, I am fully aware of what I'm saying, though. Yeah, I know MPH and, you know, I know all those different things. Don't worry. All right? MBA and blah, blah, blah. All the acronyms there. Don't worry about that. My good friend, Andrea. All right? So I am saying, look at my good friend, Claudia Joseph, the Honorable Claudia Joseph. She's doing a damn good work. Because why? She understands she had to up it. Me and I don't see eye to eye and everything. No. But she recognized that she had to up her game in the tongue of St. George. The woman working like day and night, she working, you know. She working hard and she targeting the thing right. Because if you're a political genius, if you're politically savvy at least, you would know that NNP, they have their block of votes in the tongue of St. George. NDC has the block of votes in the tongue of St. George. And Peter has his personal support. But Peter's personal support is not enough to get him the seat. If NDC work hard, target the voters, do certain things to help them, it's a given. She could win that seat hands down. Let me tell you why. Claudette Joseph ran against Peter in 2018. She lost to Peter by 826 votes. You hear me? 826 votes. She ran again in 2022 against the same Peter. And she narrowed that gap. She didn't win, but she narrowed that gap from 826 votes to Peter winning by 211 votes. And if she had a week again, maybe you would get a good cut skin. Just see it. That's the data. That's the facts. You hear me? So people are wising up. And she's doing a fantastic job in that constituency. So things are happening there. But it's just common sense, the math. If you sit and you realize the NNP supporters will not vote for Peter David. They kick him out, quote unquote, so to speak. All right? They push him out. He's a nobody for the NNP. So he can't get that huge block of NNP support. You mad? They're studying Peter David. They're partisan in their politics. NNP supporters. They are NNP. They may support you when you NNP, when you with them NNP, just as NDC, they're partisan too. They supported you when you were NDC. But you're a bucket now standing on your own. Look at the people. You have a little thing, some little thing happening. You poorly attended. Understand they have some health fear, some kind of thing. Everything is poorly attended around Peter. Peter David cannot attract that kind of numbers at the polls to vote for him. And he knows that. Don't fool yourself. He knows that. He knows that tongue would be a difficult seat for him to win come the next election. But you want to leave him in there because he's targeting certain constituencies. You hear about some movement stupidness. You hear them talking about some old stupid movement thing. You see them focusing on St. Patrick West. Why you want to go in for St. Patrick West? Huh? Why? What's your objective there? Huh? And mind you, he still believes that he can grab from NDC and grab from NNP. And then he want to go into certain constituencies in Andrew. What's wrong with that, boy? Huh? What's wrong with you? Anyways, I am saying the guy knows that. He just can't get that block. You have NNP, you have NDC. And mind you, you have more people today supporting NDC in the tongue of St. George than NNP. You have more. But you have to canvass the list. But you have to go there and connect, find the people, identify your core support, identify those who are in the middle, see their needs, their wants. That's politics. Politics is a everyday thing. Can't stop. It is important. Very, very important. So we know. And you could say what you want about St. John. The people of St. John, they always prefer NDC over NNP. And if you do your work right, and you go on the ground, and you identify the people. And look, in St. John, right? And folks, that's a lesson for you. St. John, the population increase, the voting population increase in St. John, but at the bottom end of the stick. All right. So St. John, for example, has 6,800 and 21 votes, right? In St. John, as we speak. That is what they have. But if you go deeper and you look at the polling division in Grand Roy, that polling station, Grand Roy, and the one in Concord, you would realize that you have more people down that side now than at the top. So Cloger is a very small polling station. Florida is a very small polling station. The Florida Government School, which is located in Loreto, that is also a very small polling station. When compared to before, right? So it's not that the population is growing that much, but it's a key polling station. Greasy Hill, Loreto, Middle River, they come in and vote in Loreto at that school, the Florida Government School. So it has always been strong for NDC. So the focus has to be there to help the people in that area to increase your numbers. And then the 3 polling stations in Gov itself. You have one lower, Depodin, meaning that the Anglican school, you have one in the RC school, and you have one in the Methodist church. I know Gov very well. I've been there from donkey years come. I know nearly everybody in Gov. But before, it used to be if you win bigly in the 3 polling stations in Gov, then you win. You ride, come down, Mount Granby is not a huge polling station, but you kind of go even there, you survive there. Come down Grand Roy, same thing. Go Concord, same thing. But now, even if you win the 3 polling divisions in Gov, let's say by 100 votes each, and you equal Florida, equal Cloger, because generally Cloger would go NNP. Generally, Florida, you might be almost there, or they would go NNP. Right? Then you have Loreto, who normally goes NDC. And then you have Gov, who normally sometimes neck and neck, close, or NDC win 1, NNP win 1, or neck and neck. All right? But when NNP give a good rub in Gov, you have to look out for Concord. Because if Concord comes up high for NNP, then there's a great chance that they're going to win that seat. But Grand Roy, you have to focus a lot on Grand Roy, because Grand Roy is 1,000-something votes. You have to do a lot there. And that's where I'm from. I am from Grand Roy. Right? So Grand Roy, Marigot, Black Bay, Concord, that whole belt. I know nearly everybody, from grandmother to grandfather to daughter to sister to brother, go right back. Right? So a lot of work has to be done there in those areas also to get the support of the people of that area. That's important. You can't just come close to election and then, no, it has to be more than that. It has to be more than that. And then you have places like Mount Granby, and then you go back into Gov. But it's a seat that the NDC could always win. Always. It's a seat that the NDC could always win. Target certain people, target certain areas in St. John. So don't believe because the election the last time was close, right? Because, Honorable Kieran James, she came on the scene and so on, young, and then she was up against Alvin Dabrio. I mean, the guy had resources, he had, and they were in government. Don't forget that. NMP was in government. So she did a damn good job to win. She did a good job to come back and win, even if by the 12 or the 7 how much votes. She did a good job there. But it's not easy. It's not easy at that time because the guy had resources. He had a whole radio station, right, that was doing his bidding. WFM. He has direct connection and so on to WFM. And WFM is listened to on the Western Corridor quite well. So you have to factor in all those things. So the mere fact that she won, you have to give her a thumbs up. Thumbs up. You did a fantastic job. But there's a lot to be done in St. John and in those constituencies, the polling divisions that I just mentioned, to make sure that victory is secured. St. John is a winnable seat. I remember Clarice Charles, I was center of that whole operation in St. John, even during her time. Clarice Charles, I remember there was a recording of her when she said certain things and they record her and they use it around the election time, targeting them women. And they play that thing over and over and over. You know what Clarice Charles did? She went down on the ground. Say, okay, NNP people, they're tribal somewhat. They vote for party. They support their party. And even if I don't have all the numbers up in Guava where they're playing it over and over, I just have to break even, right? Just get, even if they beat me by 2 votes or 5 or 10, just write it out there. And then she focused on Concord. On Concord. She pumped a lot of resources on Concord, focused on Concord, and she won, I think she won that seat by 55 votes, or 52, either 52 or 55 votes, that election. So it's a, so things are changing in different constituencies. People are moving from top to bottom, from that end to that end. Some going out, some, but we have to focus on St. John, St. Patrick East, St. Patrick West, and the 4 constituencies in St. Andrew. More work, more PR, more everything has to be focused there. I think St. David, bravo. South St. George, bravo. Northeast St. George, bravo. Carriacou, bravo. I'm not saying that you have to abandon, continue doing your stuff there, but you have to do a similar or more in those other constituencies. All right? That's political class this morning. And I know who I'm talking to. I know my listenership. I know the people who understand this thing to a T2 because you're learning in the process. Because to win, you have to know. And one thing that we don't see from political parties is political education being taught. You see how I speak there this morning? You don't find that happening from political parties, bringing their supporters together, bringing them in the different constituencies together, and teaching the political education strategies, right? The roadmap to victory. What needs to be done here, there, and everywhere, and how they can help to guarantee victory. That is not being taught. I mean, the bigger political parties in the region, they have political classes, political sessions, and so on, just politics. That's important, huh? Very, very important. Folks, I want to wish you all the best. I want to say to you that it's weekend. Have a wonderful weekend. The Honorable Ron Redhead, they have a cruise coming up on the 24th, Saturday, 24th of May. The St. George Northeast constituency, the Honorable Ron Redhead and his team. Brilliant colors. Tickets, it's for $75. Tickets is $75. Tickets is $75. $75 for the tickets. And boarding time is 7 p.m. So that's the Honorable Ron Redhead, right? And tickets could be had or purchased at the constituency office in Mongi there, right? It's $75. And even if you're not able to go, still buy a ticket or 2, right? Do that to support them. So boarding time 7, and it's the 24th of May. That's not far from now. So I want to encourage you to support the Honorable Ron Redhead and his team in his constituency. All right? Then I want to say to the people of Carriacou, tomorrow, I wonder if tomorrow meaning today by. Anyways, the Northern Fish Center will be open officially. I'm wondering when they say tomorrow, is it today? This one.
Hello, hi everybody. Yeah, I'm excited today as we come down on the most anticipated building on the island. It's the Windward Fishery, definitely. As you can see, the color is blue and golden brown. I call it Noah and the Ark. Why? After the hurricane, this was the building that rescued most of the people from Windward, Dover, Meldrum, the northern side. But today, look at the building.
Right, so it's today. All right, so it's today. So many people are saying to me it's today. Because see, when you post stuff, you have to put a date. When, because you say tomorrow, anybody seeing it on Facebook, then they think, even if they see Sunday, they think it's Monday. So it's today. So instead of saying tomorrow, then maybe what they can do is to put the date. Today being the 9th of May, Friday, 9th of May. That is when it will be officially opened, you see? So that's important. So thank you very much, the folks there. So it's today.
Are ready to open it, and I'm inviting the whole of Carriacou to be here definitely this Friday, the 9th, grand opening. And as we're on the outside, we are going on the inside. There is a lot of secret inside of the building. You're not only looking at the outside. As you can see, this is our entrance. Definitely what I love about this building, this is where the selling will be taking place. The cleaning of the fish will be right here, definitely. All the waters and everything, as you can see, it is functionable. And once it's scraped and got, we bring it here where we ice it up and we wait on our scale. Now, everyone was asking what this big platform is. You know what? Now, I realize when the guys and them catch the big tuna, barracuda, dolphin, wearing 6 feet. Bam, we bring it here, where we scrape it, slice it, wear it, and we're ready to go. So you know what you're talking about, international. Now we got big fish, small fish. This is the secret again. I want the fishermen to know that we're not going to be taking fish at least 3 inches. It must be 6 inches. And the name of the fish, we don't want slimy heads or no grunts. We want snappers and butterfish, not even Marian. Quality fish, quality. This is the fish market of a standard. If you can see our rules, I love it. I love it. The counter flow must be clean, definitely. No children, vendors, you just name it. You understand? I love it. Authorized. Even the cleaner should be authorized. They're going to have the bar. That is what it's all about. I love this. The area, no smoking. The ups the language. So there are rules right now at the fish market. Definitely. Let me carry on a small journey, which is very, very important. You can see up here, the sales, the fee, you know, you'll be spending money to keep your fish at proper quality. Why? Because at the end of the day, the customers who come to buy the fish cannot query to say that $9 a pound, $8 a pound. At the back here, there, you're hearing some noise. I'm gonna bring you all, hold on. We got a shower. After the guys and them come out in the salt water, you know, you turn on and you just have a bath. What could be better than that? 2 showers, you know. What I'm saying is that office, management, secretariat, male toilet, female toilet. Ladies, we call them fishermen. You know what? I want to call some ladies fisherwoman. I never hear about fisherwoman. Come on, ladies, go out and start fishing. Let me call all your fisherwomen. This is the secret. When I open here, look at it. Oh my gosh. Here it reminds me of New York snow. The ice is crystal white. Very, very icy. This is where the boat come. Get the thing. Ice up the ice box, keeping the fish fresh. Not even that. We now is having a party. We got our ice to put in our drinks. This can also use for cocktails, you know, because look at the size, different cubes. Oh, I love it. There is ice right now. Loving it. But listen again. This is the fishery. We are international. Everybody. This is a small curtain. Let me just shift my curtain. We got racks where the fish will be going on racks, not on the floor. As you can see, the fish and all is in AC, keeping at a temperature. Why not? If the fish is in AC, come on, Carriacou, maybe now, let us catch something. Oh my gosh, I missed it again. Ooh, I missed it again. I wanted you all to see how the ice. Now we got some ice box where you can put your fish in there and make sure everything is everything. I forgot to show you the scale. You see the scale? That is where you come with your fish and you weigh it right there before bringing it inside of there. Look at the cold storage room. Oh, I thought the pump is working nicely. This is our brand new fishery. What I loved of the people of Windward is that the guys and them is still working. As I told you all, we are opening on Friday the 9th. And let me just show you all, we got community work, because this is just the side. Where are the ladies and them from Windward? Where they are cleaning? Look at them. Yes, these are the front of the building. Lovely. They are packing lots.
Yes, so Superfly and Finn there, he mentioned the dates. So thank you very much there, my good friend. Right, but the caption I was referring to earlier. But thank you very much. You're doing a fantastic job. In fact, you need to be featured on nearly everything being done in Carriacou and PT Martinique, and maybe in Grenada too. You just have a vibes. When I could sit here and just listen to Superfly and Fint for the entire 8 minutes and plus. Fantastic. But that is the Honorable Tevin Andrews. So while the NNP talking all the mess, look at what he's doing. The Honorable Tevin Andrews is working for his people. The guy's doing a fantastic job in Carriacou and PT Martinique. And you ain't seen nothing yet, you know. There's some schools that will be officially opened, medical stations, meaning that, look, it's big things. Big things are going on in Carriacou and PT Martinique. So kudos, thumbs up. My brother, thumbs up there. And even the fishers, you know, those who do sea moss and so on, they see they receive some supplies, right? They receive some items from FAO/Grenada, the government of Grenada.
Over 10 sea moss farmers and fish vendors on the sister isle of Carriacou have received much-needed equipment thanks to a donation from the Food and Agriculture Organization FOA and its partners through the Ministry of Carriacou and PT Martinique Affairs.
Yes, so the government is trying its best to help the farmers and help the fishers, those in sea moss and that kind of thing. You know, you would not hear those things being talked about by the NNP. We have to highlight it, we have to push it, we have to talk about it. But a lot is happening in Carriacou and PT Martinique, and while I'm on that, remember we're going to Carriacou and PT Martinique on June the 21st. June the 21st, tickets $100 return. So it's $100 to go up and come down. It's $100. That's all you have to pay. And then we go up there for the day. We're going to see all the good things that the Honorable Tevin Andrews continue to do for the people of Carriacou and PT Martinique. And we have a nice time on Paradise Beach, eating, drinking, having a wonderful time up there in Carriacou. All right, so we're going up with the Osprey. All right, so it's $100 for the ticket. So buy up your tickets. You could liaison with me, call me up. If you're in town, you could buy by Ricky. That's Montreal Ricky by in town. Folks, take good care. Bye for now. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll be back.